So thanks for joining me today. We're going to be talking about our research report, Training in PMOs Will Not Save Our Projects. Now, here's what we're going to be covering in the next hour or so. There's really 4 elements. We're going to talk about first, what's the goal? Why did we do this? We'll give a short executive overview of what the process was. We'll spend some time on doing a deep dive on the results and going through our analysis. And then at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about Pinnacle Academy. So let's get started on the goals. Now, when I started this project of doing research into the practice of project management, it was really it was really for a specific purpose that we're doing another project, and we really had excuse me, about 4 questions. The first one, we want to know what are the main concerns of project managers and executives? What are people thinking? What are they worried about? So I was doing a little bit of market research, but the other thing I wanted to know is, what are people doing? What are the most common practices? The common, project management is a big thing. What are people doing about projects, and which ones are producing the best results? Just even on the cursory analysis, there's a lot of conflict or a lot of disagreement about what produces the best result. And I wanted to know, what are people doing that aren't working, right? What are the things that are doing that are not giving the right results? And then finally, do managers, and I'm talking about project managers and executives, do they really understand what drives good performance, good business performance, and good project performance? So, I have my own ideas about what the answers to these questions are, but what I wanted to know is, am I alone in this thinking? Is there something that everyone shares? Is there a commonality or something that is beyond my own experience, our own firm's experience? So what we did is we hired an independent research firm, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to say, well, look at the current research that has been done by scholars and by industries. And, we looked for, the first thing we wanted was something that was independent. So we hired this firm, KKL Research. We wanted to do this independent, so it wasn't colored by our own thinking. And the other thing we wanted to do was we wanted to find the most comprehensive and authoritative sources, and also the most recent too, right? So we didn't want to look at anything that was more than 2 years old. And we wanted to have a very broad perspective, right? So Pinnacle Strategies is a global firm. We do business globally. We wanted to find out I didn't want to get a US-centric opinion. I wanted to get an opinion from various cultures, various countries, and various industries as well. So based on the research that we found, we looked at survey results from over 4,000 participants in over 40 countries, in over 40 different industries, to really understand, what do people think, what are people doing, what do they believe is working, and what do they not. And we were also able to find some direct one-on-one interview studies with C-level executives spread across 22 countries. So we got a pretty good reach, a pretty broad cross-section. And what we're going to be presenting essentially is what is a synthesis of these results, all right? So let's just look, first of all, what are people doing, right? Well, PMOs is a hot topic. A lot of people think that we should be doing establishing PMOs, and that is happening. People are investing in PMOs. Training is almost universal. I think I'm thinking off the top of my head, like 70% of organizations provide some sort of project management training for their teams. And most, if not all, follow the rigor of the Project Management Institute's project management body of knowledge, at least as a foundation. And we also saw some effort on organizations to align projects to business strategy. So this is what people are doing, all right? Now, this is what the range of performance that people are reporting. And what I want you to note here is the high performers averaged about 89% of successful project completions, all right? The low performers averaged about 36% project completions. Now, when we talk about what is success, we're talking about scope, budget, and time, and also business benefit is in there. And this is what people are saying that they're doing. The high performers are generally happy with their performance. The low performers obviously are not. Low performer. Now, if you're a low performing organization, that means that you waste 12 times as much as the high performers. Now, the other thing that we wanted to look at was what do people believe are the most important elements? Where's the leverage in project management? And we have two different audiences. We have project managers and we have executives. And the reason for that is we've got two different perspectives on what makes a difference. And you'll see what this means in a minute. But project managers overwhelmingly believe that the most important thing to do is to have a good planning process. And that we need to improve our project management maturity. And of course, they think that this should say is executive sponsorship, not lack of executive sponsorship. But what they think is what's important is executive sponsorship of projects and well-defined goals and managing scope. Right. So project managers think that these are the 5 most important things in projects. And, sort of like motherhood and apple pie, this is kind of what everybody would say, this is important to do this. Now, executives agree with the project managers. Detailed planning is the most important thing to do. But if you notice, they've got a different perspective. What they think is we need leadership and skills. We need the right people, the right talent to run our projects. We also need to have stakeholder engagement, right? Now, this is what people think are, these are what I would consider, these are the concerns, all right, of the two groups, all right? So we can say, well, they're concerned about these sorts of things. And so as a result, these are the things that we should be focusing on. Now, the second thing that we looked at is what the data shows of, what differentiates high performers from low performers. So at the practitioner level, the most important thing is aligning to organizational strategy. The second thing that differentiates is executive sponsorship, which I think goes along with alignment of the strategy. Skilled leaders, all right, which we looked at before. Risk management processes and change management. So when we look at what differentiates high performers for low performers at the process level, we have these 5 elements. Now, at the management level, the things that really make a difference is a stable schedule. And for EPC projects transitioning from the project to operations, and then establishing a culture of delivery excellence, timely decision making, and having ready performance data. So these, when we look at the high performers versus the low performers, that graph I showed you a minute ago, this is what the data shows. All right, so this is what differentiates the high performers versus the low performers, these 10 things. Now, There isn't one thing that we can point to in terms of this is the one thing, but I think when we get deeper into the analysis, you'll start to see, what of these things are really the most important thing. But what I wanted to point out here is that what people believe matters and what actually matters are different. So practitioners believe that we need to do a better job of planning, but what really counts is having a good risk management process. Project managers think we need to have a better maturity, but what really matters is having skilled leaders. All right, so it's not about knowing all the details of doing projects and stuff like that. It's really about leadership and organization. Now, one thing that people agree on and that does matter is executive sponsorship and alignment to organizational strategy. So this is one thing that emerges clearly in the research, is that if your project's not aligned, if you don't have not aligned with the goals of the organization, and you don't have executive sponsorship, you'll have a great deal of difficulty in seeing project success. They poorly defined goals. Well, that really is more about, and scope changes, it's really about a change management process. So I think one of the things that we see is kind of the language of what people think matters and what actually matters is blocking us a little bit in terms of getting the results that we want in projects. Executives think that detailed planning is the answer, but it's really not detailed planning. It's having a stable schedule. Leaders and skills, it's really not about leaders and skills. It's about having a culture of delivery excellence. And it's not about stakeholder engagement. It's really about timely decision-making and ready performance information. So, what I want to highlight here is that what people think are the most important elements and what are the most important elements are clearly not lining up. So what I hope to do in this work was bring some clarity to the profession and to executives about what is really important in project management, what really makes a difference. Now, it seems to me that what we should be doing is focusing on not what we think is important, but what the data shows us. And so I'm a very empirical decision-making kind of guy. I want to know, what does the data tell us about making the right decision? Now, these 10 elements, or these elements, if I back up a slide, right? These back elements, I think, everybody would say that, these are all important, but we don't really have any insight into, what is the most important thing to do. Now, the other thing, one of the things that the report shows is that there's either a negative or very little correlation to success if an organization has a PMO. If they have a whole bunch of people who have been trained in project management principles, if their organization is mature in project management. So this is this is where the title of our presentation comes, because this is a surprise, because everybody thinks that PMOs are important, and training is important, and being more mature in project management principles. The data shows there's either no correlation or even a negative correlation to project success. And we know this because we see that that almost everyone has problems with schedule and budget. You can see that the number of respondents that says that they met the schedule, everybody says, it's really important to deliver on time. Everybody thinks it's important to meet the budget, but we do a terrible job of it. It also this result is also points to a problem in the data, and in people's perceptions, because in the prior slide I showed you that we had 89% of the projects were completed successfully, yet only 30% of the respondents say that we met our budget within 25%. All right, so that means that this 30%, this isn't the approved budget at the beginning. This is the approved budget within a range of 25%. So clearly, we know that delivery performance is important. We know that it's a problem, but I think that people think that they've accepted the fact that missing the budget and missing the schedule is a fact of life and not an important success criteria. So I think what people define as success is like, okay, we finished, whew, we're done. So that's the big picture of the research. Now, what I want to do now is kind of dive down into what the various aspects of the research show us, so we can get a more definitive direction. So, I mean, you know, I think everybody agrees that yes, budgets and schedule are a problem, but what do we do about it? And so first thing, I'm going to show you some detailed research here. And what I want to do is, first of all, give you what the elements of those are. First of all, when we talk about what is success, right? Success means, all right, we met the scope. We did everything that we said that we were going to do, and it worked. We've got the right quality. We got the benefits. It delivered the results. We did it within the budget, and we did it within the required timeline. Now, what we did in the research is we did a correlation between successful projects and training, and you can see that those organizations with training, that having training and not having training has made a difference in terms of success in scope, success in quality, and business benefit. You know, in some cases, a pretty significant impact. But when we look at budget and schedule, budget performance and schedule performance actually decline. So the correlation is a negative correlation. The more we train people, the worse we get in budget and schedule. And we'll go deeper in this in a minute. Now, what the research says is that those organizations that use the typical project management approach will see a goal attainment of 90% in the three important parts of the project, right? But they will also see schedule and budget, all right, will also fall short. So it's clear that even if we got better, even if we got mature in the methodology, we would still miss our schedule and budget 30% of the time. So, so what do we do, right? What do we do? What we need to do is we need to do a PMO, all right? So let's do a PMO, and we'll institutionalize these things. And here we can see the respondents' performance based on how long have they been using a PMO. So we can see that if the longer we use a PMO, which is the darker bar, all right, the darker bar shows that the longer we use a PMO, we get better in scope and quality. We get better in quality, but the PMO doesn't really change the performance in scope, quality, or business benefit. You can see there's basically no difference in scope, quality, or business benefit of having a PMO. And if you look at budget and schedule, you can see that actually the performance is even worse. Now, schedule is the same, but budget is actually worse. So why bother? Of course, this is actually drawn from we've got two confirming sources for this data. One of them is from the project management itself. They say, even then, they say that there's a difference in performance with and without a PMO is only 1%. So don't let people tell you that the PMO is the answer, because clearly it is not. Now, generally, when we talk about general project performance, generally, we get to the end of the project, right? The project is finished, but it's really hard. Now, even though, we still get, I could point to the red bar and say, look at that, 18% of our projects fail. They're just gone. 43% are challenged, and 39% are successful. So, we can paint this data any way we want, but I think, the point of this is that only 40% of our projects are successful, and the rest are very difficult, or we exceed the budget, or whatever. So clearly, it's still a big challenge to execute. Now, another aspect of the projects, this is also confirmed by another study that shows that, when we go to implement strategic initiatives in an organization, okay, and we're not talking about building things, but implementing a strategic initiative, 44% of strategic initiatives are unsuccessful. And that for every $1 billion that we invest in a project, 109 million is lost. Right, so that money is just not recoverable. Now, this is across all industries. Now, if we look at the energy industry, and I'm putting the energy industry in here because, well, this is a big part of the economy, is that the energy sector actually, it performs no better than everyone else, even though capital projects are their business. They don't perform any better than any other sectors. And to me, it looks even worse. All right. Still 30%, less than 40% on budget, less than 20% on schedule. This points us to the fact that we are not very good at projects. And what we're doing is not working. Now, when we increase our PM maturity, all right, we can see that from 2004 to 2012, there has been a shift in maturity. In 2004, most firms were at level 1, 2, and 3. And in 2012, most firms are level 4 I would say level 4. Some are at level 5. Even though over the last, this is 2012 data, I think. So, even over 8 years, the performance on projects still has not improved. Now, if we look at each one, we can say, look at this scope. It got better, all right? And if you think about it, it makes sense, that we emphasize planning and improve communication prior to launch, all right? We'll do a much better job of figuring out the scope. If we emphasize planning more, we'll get a better quality stuff. We make sure that the requirements are clearly communicated throughout the process, and we get the team engaged. And if we organizations gives themselves high marks on their projects, right? We did this project, and yes, we got the business benefit, and we got more. And this indicates the success of predicting and executing value to meet the key stakeholder objections rather than any hard numbers. And of course, at best, organizations are within 70% of their budget. Okay, that means that 30% over budget. And some of the budgets, there's another research study, some of the budgets are like 20% or 200% of the budget, right? Double the budget, way over. Now, some of the budget could also be attributed to the additional overhead that's associated with managing projects and controlling scope, quality, and business benefit. The impact on budget, of course, is also hampered by the schedule. So when we look at the schedule to the right there, I'll talk more about this in a minute, but people are trying to keep up to schedule, and as a result, they spend more money, all right? And so this more money that we spend on getting visibility and replanning has not had the effect that we want, right? And of course, we've got also people and materials, which can also lead to cost overruns. Now on the schedule, so projects are finished late over 35% of the time, which is a repeat of the data that I gave you a minute ago. In construction projects, engineering and engineered products are the highest occurrences of schedule delay. So it's clear that those people that make things are having problems with the knowledge aspect of the project, and but we're not doing a very good job in execution. We're just not executing our projects well. So I think all of this stuff is important, but it's not where our leverage point is. So I think the question is, well, why is there such a discrepancy between what we've been teaching and what we've been doing and what we've been investing in and what is actually showing up in terms of results? And actually, there's really not a discrepancy at all. If you look at the source of our knowledge of project management, we look to the project management body of knowledge. And the project management body of knowledge focus is really on discipline, project management discipline, the blocking and tackling, if you will, of project management. Making sure we do good stakeholder analysis, we do a good plan, and we control the scope, that we've got the right quality, that we're communicating, we're monitoring, and all of that stuff. And if you look at the improvements in our focus areas, they actually match that stuff. So we can say, well, okay, actually what we are doing is working, except for this, all right? And here's the problem with budget and schedule, is that there's very little knowledge in the project management body of knowledge. Out of 450 pages, 440 pages, only 10 are devoted to project execution, how to execute and manage the budget. When execution is managed, the techniques and tools are specified as expert judgment and having a PM information management system, which means essentially you are on your own, all right? You are the expert. You're it, all right? And it leaves the PMBOK body of knowledge leaves the activity of execution solely to the expertise and experience of each project manager. And moreover, if you're using a PMO, the PMOs typically don't have the most experienced and skilled project managers, because those are the ones who are actually running the projects. So we didn't do an in-depth analysis on why PMOs don't work, but I think, the point is we have lots of guidance and lots of principles and that sort of thing on how to plan and make sure that we've got everything in the scope and specifications are good. We've got all the control aspects done, but we haven't got anything on execution. So, and the numbers show that obviously there's a huge amount of money that is available to us if we can improve execution. All right. If the graph on the left shows us that the average organization will spend about $200 million annually on projects, and about half of those are going to come in successfully. About a quarter of them will fail, and about 3/4 of them are at risk. So there is a lot of money, and of course, here's the statistic I cited earlier, that for every $1 billion spent, we lose $109 million. So there's actual money that, and now this money that I've got, that I'm posting here, this is on the expense side, but when we look at the financial performance of organizations that are what we call the best executors, we can look at their financial performance and we can see that if you are in that category of best executor, all right, that you will complete about 15% more of your strategic initiatives, that your financial performance will be, well above average. Let's see, I'm looking at 20, probably 40% more, and financial performance for you'll do 40% better than the other guys. And when you do the alignment, you have a huge gap there as well. So when we look at what if we just improved one aspect of that? What if we improved just on-time delivery? We can see that those organizations that improve their on-time delivery by 10% or more see a jump in 20% in operating profit. The cost of quality goes down roughly 20%. Cash-to-cash cycle time is better. Revenue is better. EBITDA is better. Cost of compliance is better. And it's better than the other initiatives, the other leverage points, the other things that we can do in a project. So the point here is that when we look at the data, those organizations that make on-time delivery or on-budget delivery a priority in their project management processes make a lot more money than other people, a lot more, 20%, 30% more. So so you get paid not only on the cost side, but you also get paid on the profit side. So how do you do it? How do you build a culture of on-time project delivery performance? Because project execution is really the unexplored area. There's not a lot of data out there. What's the best practice? I mean, are there best practices? Are there principles that we can follow? And then how do we put them into practice? I mean, it's clear that project execution is a problem. We need to do something about it. How do we do it? Well, there's a thing called the project execution maturity model that is actually exemplifies the principle, or exemplifies the principles of superior execution. We've done quite a bit of work in this because this is our business. And there's actually, we've broken the execution maturity model into 3 levels, all right? We call this one basic collaboration, improved coordination, and integrated planning. Now, I don't know that I have a lot of time to go through each one of these elements, but let me just talk about each level. Each one of these boxes, collaborative execution, functional alignment, priority control, and WIP control, are processes that are unique to, or discrete processes and principles to govern project execution, and actually execution of any, right? But the basic collaboration focuses on managing the work that's in the system now. Do we have control of the processes? Do we have control of the team? Do we have the work in front of us under control? We can execute it. We've got a predictable process. Once we've got that, then we can move to other teams with improved coordination, and we can focus on increasing velocity and delivering on time. And we can be more strategic in terms of managing the future. And once we have this, then we can move to a higher level and do detailed planning with critical chain, simulation capability, and Monte Carlo analysis. And we can get down into the task level, and we can do detailed capacity management at the task level, and do finite resource planning, and we can do portfolio management. Now, Viewpoint is a visual project execution framework for the project delivery process. What Viewpoint does is improves collaboration, streamlines workflows, improves management focus to make better and timely decisions, and it actually embodies the execution maturity model. Now, one of the things that we can do with the execution maturity, if we know what the processes are, we can measure them. We can see, what am I doing? What am I not doing? I can assess my organization. I can assess my team, right? I can get the recommendations that I want on what's the best approach to doing a transformation and getting to the on-time delivery. And of course, doing a maturity also helps get organizational buy-in to change. We have to change something, right? Something has to change. So the maturity assessment is really the first place to do that. And we can score each one of those elements, based on the a maturity level, all right, ranging from 1 to 5. And then we can say, all right, well, based on that level, we can say, well, the ones that are red, the lowest maturity, are the ones that we need to focus on. And so we can direct our attention in a focused way to deliver or to transform the map, so transform our results. So what the execution maturity model, the scored execution maturity assessment does is becomes a map for delivering execution excellence, delivering on-time delivery. Now, we've got a free one, all right? So here, we've got an assessment tool that you can use, all right? And here's the link to it. You can do this right now, and it's an online tool. You can go and assess your execution maturity right now, and it's all, just go online and answer the questions, all right? Oh, excuse me. No, this isn't what this is. You can learn more about the project execution maturity model. Download this ebook. It's free. Here's the link. Now, if you want to assess your performance, all right, you can go to this link, and this will assess this will give you a report on what you think your organization is doing. Now, of course, the execution maturity assessment, this is just you answering questions. It's not a full organizational assessment, but you can get a sense, if you're honest, about where your organization is by going to this link right here. Now, so the other part to this, we talked about, well, how do I know where I am and that sort of thing. The other part of this is, how can we get there? All right, how do we get there? And this is really about what Pinnacle Academy is all about. Pinnacle Academy was formed, right, to help you be successful, right? Our mission is to teach you the SMART methods, all right, to solve the problems. And our first course is going to be on project management. Our goal is to deliver not the traditional stuff, but the smart, more of the innovative, leading edge stuff that is more practically oriented. So the entire approach for the Pinnacle Academy is to deliver skills that will make a difference, right? So this is not, this is not a consulting pitch. This is, how can we do this? We will teach you the methodology, right? We'll teach you how to do the analysis and give you the insight, right? And we'll give you stuff that you can't get, that is not in the PMBOK. All right. Our goal is to help you. We want you to be the hero in your organization. We want you to be the thought leader, you to be the progressive. We want you to be the problem solver and increase your contribution to the team. Now, our first course is going to be in a few weeks. We're going to do three one-day courses in Oslo, Bergen, and Stavanger. And then later in September, we're going to give a course in Finland and then Denmark. We'd like to see you there. You have the handout there, let's do this together. Let's make projects successful. So thank you very much.